Hello, and welcome to AFSPA Live, our monthly digital broadcast designed to give AFSPA members and eligible federal employees a place to ask questions and get answers about past AFSPA Talks topics, their benefits, and wellness needs. You can ask your question through the chat box on whichever social media platform you're streaming AFSPA Live, YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. If you're not able to join us live, call our toll-free line prior to the broadcast at 888-435-0757 and leave our team a voice message that we may play back and answer live on air. Just tell us who you are and the question you'd like us to answer. I'll see you at the next AFSPA Live.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to AFSPA Live, a live video broadcast Q&A session that we have every last Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. My name is Maddie Norton. I'm a communication coordinator at AFSPA, and I'll be moderating the show today. Today, we are discussing mental health resources, and because today, or May, is Mental Health Awareness Month, so we thought it was a great topic to cover. Today with us is, as always, is AFSPA CEO Kyle Longton, and our special guest is Nancy Williams from Teladoc Health. So, how is everybody doing today?
Great. Happy to be here.
Yeah. We thought that we could start off with some statistics of what our Foreign Service Benefit Plan members have been utilizing for mental health resources with our plan. So, Kyle, if you want to kind of start that off.
Absolutely. So we were just talking about this. We have our year-end 2024 results, and so I will say that 18% of Foreign Service Benefit Plan members, and that's everybody, all 110 plus thousand, 18% had a mental health or broadly behavioral health diagnosis in 2024, and just shy of 12% had a claim for a visit with a mental health specialist or for mental health reasons as the primary diagnosis. So, we talked about this just a few minutes ago before we started the broadcast. This is a great, if you need numbers, this is a great way to say you are not alone. If you are struggling in any way, if you feel like you're experiencing depression or anxiety, our top diagnoses for adjustment reaction disorder, depression, anxiety. Also had some for that fall into the category of adolescent diagnoses and even autism. We group those together. And then also reappearing for the first time in a few years was alcohol, substance use. And I will also say that it's across all age groups. 53% of every dollar that we spend on mental health services is for child dependence. About a third of it is for our enrollees, and then the rest is for spouses. But I also want to say that, and this is the reason we've got Nancy here today. She's going to help us talk about this even more. But care is more accessible than ever before. And I say ever before. The last several years, care has been more accessible than ever before. And our members have taken advantage of that. I looked at the statistics, and last year we had just over 89,000 telemedicine visits. That includes visits with Teladoc, as well as telemedicine visits with other providers, just for mental health needs. That was more than double the number of telemedicine visits we had for medical, for I'll call it physical medical in this case, because mental health is also a medical need. But it was just over 43,000 medical telemedicine visits, where 89,000 mental health. And this is a great way to engage in mental health. This is my approach many times myself when I've spoken with my therapist has been, I'm at home, I'm comfortable, I don't have to worry about driving 20 minutes, or where I live, it can often be much further away to find a provider, and then driving back. And then there's 2 to 3 hours that I've spent for a 45-minute visit. I can do it right from my home and have a great experience. But I'm going to stop there. And I know we've had some questions. Nancy, you may have something you want to add before we get to those questions, just about the what's available generally and also specifically from
Yeah,
teledoc?
absolutely. Really struck by the metrics that you gave there. A few things stand out. First of all, you're utilizing the services available to you and that there's a great need. And also, you mentioned it too, that it destigmatizes talking about mental health and seeking support, because you hear that 18% of your people are actually utilizing mental health support. So that's phenomenal. And it's hopeful that, through having talks like this, the more that we raise awareness. And remember, you don't have to be struggling to utilize the support that's offered to you here. So we'll talk a little bit more about My Strength, which is available to you. And I like to think of it as a wellness platform. Kyle, you mentioned mental and physical health together in one. I look forward to the day that we all understand that they are so entwined, that they're one. And having access to My Strength, which is available to you at no cost, and it is a digital platform with over 1,200 resources in areas like adolescent and parenting. You mentioned substance use disorder, and you don't have to be struggling with substance use disorder. I'll share that I personally lost 2 siblings to substance use disorder, hence my passion for mental health and the topic. And there are so many resources to help you with a colleague or a loved one that may be struggling. So something to keep in mind there as well.
That's wonderful. And thank you
Nancy.
for sharing that. It's always nice to see where people's passion come from. And hopefully today, our message or resources can help someone struggling with anything like that as well. So I'll kind of start with something that's all been on our minds, at least at AFSPA for sure. A lot of federal employees are facing a lot of uncertainty, whether they've lost their job or they're worried about losing their job. Can you talk a little bit about what feelings they may be experiencing, and maybe when should someone seek professional help for it?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, I would say whatever you're feeling, completely normal and natural. I think that we often forget that we're all individual, and our prior life experiences, our family upbringing, our culture all play into how we're feeling, how we define mental health. Understandably, when there's uncertainty, when we have a sense of certainty, that's what brings us our safety and our feelings of just having a routine and structure. So you may find yourself feeling unsettled, worried, anxious. Another common feelings that people may not associate with, working in your space is even guilt. If you happen to not be, you had your team maybe, and some of them were eliminated, their positions were eliminated, and yours wasn't, you may struggle to make sense of that. A few years ago, that happened with my manager, and you have almost a survivor's guilt and thinking, why wasn't it me? And trying to do the what if. So very similar to having other feelings of guilt and grief. Whether you lost your job or a change in role, the symptoms of grief do not change, whether it's grieving a person or grieving a loss or many different kinds of grief. The acuity may change. So all of that is normal. Everything that you experience is normal and expected.
Absolutely. And I know we've gotten questions just about how can someone support or help a loved one that's experiencing any of these feelings?
Yeah, another great question. And I'd love to be able to give tidbits to people and how you can help someone who's struggling. And the best way is asking these questions shows that you are concerned about a colleague or a loved one. And really just learning to be an active listener. So many times in our personal lives, we maybe listen with the intent to answer. And when someone is struggling, a lot of times they want to be validated. They want someone to hear them. And so active listening is a great way to validate somebody's feelings and letting them know that you're there for them. And additionally, you can ask them what would be helpful. They may not answer you, but sometimes you get a good idea there, and you can provide the resources that you know are available for professional support through AFSPA, and that can include teledoc for virtual health and also My Strength, and offer to take them for a walk, get out and get some sunshine, maybe take a yoga class together, just some ideas on how to be a good friend or partner and help them get through it.
Those are all great suggestions. And I think a lot, you talk about being an active listener. If me and my sister will talk on the phone all the time, and sometimes she'll come to me with an issue that she's upset about or she's stressed, and I'll ask her, I'll say, okay, do you want to vent or do you want me to provide solutions? And that kind of sets the tone to where, am I just here to listen, or does she want more help from me, in a way like that? So I think that's a great point and is the best way you can support someone. Kyle, I'll jump to you for the next question. You mentioned adolescents and how they're seeking help as well. So what mental health resources do we have for youth?
Sure. So, and I'll ask Nancy to correct me if I'm wrong, but I know My Strength, which we are focused on today because it is sort of self-directed. You can use it anytime. It's available worldwide for our members. It is available to people age 13 and older. Do I have that right, Nancy? Okay, good. Hasn't changed since we launched that partnership back in, I think, 2016. So we're delighted to offer that. We also, I'm going through this right now with my own kids with some needs that they have, and virtual resources are not as readily available in some cases, including we've got My Strength, but Nancy, I believe the actual mental health, the counseling service is not available to children. Is that right, through teledoc?
So teledoc does have adolescent therapy that is available to ages 13 and up. So okay. Yes, not the psychiatry piece, because there are so many nuances to prescribing for that age group, but yes to therapy. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. So if you're looking for that, you can turn to teledoc if you're stateside. You can turn to our partners at Lyra Health if you're overseas. They also are in most jurisdictions offering counseling services to age 13 and older. If you're looking for something younger than that, that can be a challenge. And so you can look at the network, the provider search tool. Sometimes it may be that counseling, I will say from my experience, I am not the mental health professional on the call, on the broadcast. But what we've experienced in the past is that sometimes counseling for our children wasn't the right thing. My spouse and I contacted a counselor and asked for guidance, explained what we were going through, and asked for how can we help our kids navigate whatever they were going through, whether it was grief, anxiety in some cases, and so forth. So we got some parental counseling to help guide that at home, and sometimes that was enough, sometimes it wasn't. Turn to school resources. They often have recommendations. We learned very recently there's actually an outside counselor who's comes into the school a couple days a week and offers counseling, and my goodness, they accept insurance. So it's the holy grail, I think, right there. And that can also be a challenge. Just fine if you're looking for somebody in person, particularly in the DC area or large metropolitan areas, finding a provider who's in network, who's accepting new patients and actually has availability can be a challenge. And so, if you run into that, reach out to us. There we can talk about the options there. But look at that and don't hesitate to think, how can I be, what resources can I seek out for myself to help my kids? But definitely look at that. I'll also point our listeners to our podcast from this month of May, where we worked with another partner, the Truman Group, and they do provide counseling only for expats outside the U.S. for all ages. And so they may have resources, including live virtual counseling sessions that would be available for all ages and for all needs.
Absolutely. And, we've mentioned My Strength, and I'm sure some of our listeners are like, well, give me more details about it. What is it? So easy question. What is My Strength?
So My Strength is a robust digital platform, and it houses over 1,200 digital activities, resources, videos, animations in 18 different, so besides the 1,200 different topics, could include depression, anxiety, parenting, grief, trauma, even suicidality. Although it's, a digital resource, and we would never send someone to a digital resource at the level of crisis, maybe you're looking on how to help someone through something. And so there's a lot of great tools in there and practices. And then also for ages 13 to 17, there are specific mental health resources for that age group. And don't forget, Kyle talking about being a parent, and it's a little distant ways since mine was a teenager, but I also had my son engaged in therapy. And the struggles that we go through as parents, none of us want to see our youngsters, our kiddos struggle. So that puts a lot of anxiety and stress, worry, sadness upon us too. So even within the My Strength platform, you'll find helpful resources, even if you go in there for the ages 13 to 17, kind of look and understand how to speak to that age group, better, because there is a generational gap, and also what they're struggling with. When I grew up, there was no cell phone at all. So completely different to now having digital natives, your children, that's all they've ever known. And think of all of the, all of the challenges that come with that, with cyberbullying and in impeding their sleep because they're so attuned to social media. So My Strength is a great place to be able to access some new resources and interventions to help you as a parent too.
Yeah. And I'll just mention, we have some other resources out there. Our care management line is available, and I'm putting our producing team on the spot, and look at that, the magic works. You can give them a call. There's actually a dedicated sub team within the care management team focused on behavioral health, and they can listen to what the needs are, whether it's for you or a family member, and help you find a provider, refer you to programs we have, whether it's My Strength, whether it's counseling through Teledoc, maybe it's the Able To program that we offer. There's a variety of options that may be available, and they can also provide. They are focused on behavioral health writ large. And so if you're looking at an autism diagnosis for you or for a member of your family, they got specific tools, including a toolkit they can send you. And Nancy, I so appreciate you mentioning suicide ideation that a lot of people are struggling with. You see it in a lot of online forums right now that this comes up. We have a program specifically for that. While I wish it weren't necessary, I'm glad it's there. It's called the Guardian Angel program. And there is some help available, and that's through our care management team. And some of that they identify through other means, through claims and things like that. And there may be outreach based on that. But please just know that we've got you. You take that first step. If you need it, we're there to meet you with a variety of options and support.
Absolutely. And just to confirm, you don't have to be formally diagnosed with depression or anxiety or anything, right, to use My Strength.
Absolutely. And that also applies even to therapy. When you think about engaging in therapy, sometimes in the past, I've gone through either therapy or certainly utilizing My Strength, definitely no, but you can seek a therapist for life struggles. We all need help from time to time. So it's not necessary to have a diagnosis. And remember that My Strength is available anytime, anywhere. So if it's 3 a.m. and you're having trouble sleeping because you've just got so many different stressors on your mind, it's there for you. And you can practice some meditation, or if that's not your thing, maybe watch a video and learn how to manage stress, either at work, at home, or both. So very helpful, and no need for a diagnosis. We want you to learn to utilize My Strength before you have a problem, so that you're implementing those behavior changes, putting those new practices into your life on a daily basis, so to help you be able to navigate those bumps in the road when they do happen.
Absolutely. And we've hit on it. It doesn't just have to be it doesn't have to be you lost someone in your life or, something traumatic happened to you. It can be you moved to a new city and you're trying to make new friends and it's causing you a lot of stress and anxiety. It can be the transition, going to college, leaving home, anything like that. Or just life in general. You can be stressed and you can seek help for that. And that is totally normal and it's totally okay because it's there for you to learn coping mechanisms and ways to continue on with your life and live a healthier mental and physical life. And so don't think that you need something that says like, hi, I'm depressed or, something like that. Like you can seek these resources out and not need something like that to encourage you or say you're allowed to do it. I think we'll kind of jump to I've heard a lot. Kyle and I even did a podcast episode about it, about mental health coaching. So I'd love to, pick your ear about that. And what is mental health coaching and how is it different from the standard counseling?
Yeah, so this is a question that I get asked frequently, and understandably, it's sometimes so many options with mental health now that it can be overwhelming. This is how I think it through and explain it to others. So when you think of a mental health coach, think of a sports coach. The sports coach generally is there to encourage you, to motivate partner. And then when you compare that to maybe a sports physician or someone that's on the field, a trainer, they are more designed. So think of that person more like the therapist. They're there to assess, to diagnose, and to do a treatment plan. Whereas the coach is there really to help you set goals, to help you succeed in your life, really working together. So the coach does not diagnose, does not prescribe a treatment plan, and really is there to help you to be your best self and live your healthiest life. So, and also, we get asked often about the differences between them. And when we talk about psychiatry too, that's another where that we get asked. So with psychiatry at Teladoc, our psychiatrists are only prescribing medication versus a psychologist, which would be for talk therapy.
Gotcha. Good to know the differences between it all, because I know it can get confusing.
Absolutely.
And I know also, what can FSBP members use My Strength in addition to counseling? Can they use it in addition to other things?
Yes, and absolutely they should. I think a lot of therapists would be quite happy to know that you have this digital resource available, because therapists operate under what we call models of care. So you may hear them referred to as therapeutic modalities. It's a fancy word for what type of approach is the therapist using. And there are over 400 different approaches. And the reason I say that is if you're working with a counselor and maybe you're working through cognitive behavioral therapy, which is learning to take your thoughts, look at them. If they're negative, learn to reframe them positively. You share with your counselor that you have this great digital resource that also has interventions that align with cognitive behavioral therapy. Well, that counselor can then work with you with the My Strength platform and assign you some homework, or really be able to help you not only to get better, but actually our research shows that when it's used in conjunction with therapy, to get better faster, because it's in between those appointments. Right. So practicing it in real life.
Yeah, and that's also incredible too, just because like you've mentioned before, My Strength is available 24/7. Obviously, if you are seeing a counselor, they can't be there for you 24/7. And that's just not what their job entails. So, if you're having moments where you're like, wow, I really wish I could talk to my therapist about this, or I don't know if this can wait until tomorrow. There's My Strength there to chat with and see all the models and different places that you can go to get that help, or get, a meditation or a breathing exercise to kind of get you back to where you are and be like, okay, yeah, I can wait till the next session to talk about this and really dive into it. And I know we touched a little bit on the different type of therapy models. But I know that just in my life, when I talk to people, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, therapy is a great option for you. But a lot of times people will be like, well, talk therapy is just not for me. Or I don't know how to sit and talk to someone. Like, how can I just open up to someone I've never met before? So I'd kind of love to hear a little bit more about like what type of therapy models are offered through My Strength, and how when you go to therapy, it's not just like you've been saying, like there's so many different types of therapy models, and it's not just talk therapy and just sitting there back and forth of like, well, how did you feel today? Or what was your week like?
Absolutely.
It's not Frasier
No.
saying,
Right.
I'm listening, and it's all solved in 3 minutes. Yeah.
And I often say too, like, I'm very transparent. And I talk about how, I've engaged in therapy at various points in my life. And, sometimes I've had someone that I could have talked to a girlfriend and felt just as good.
Right. No, exactly.
So that's why the differences in the modalities matter. But within the My Strength platform, so everything is evidence-based. Which also includes all of our therapists and psychiatrists. Everything's evidence-based. So within My Strength, they pull from 8 different therapeutic modalities. So if cognitive behavioral therapy isn't really resonating with you, you're not really sure about how to reframe your thoughts, you may want something that's so having acceptance and commitment therapy, which is really about accepting what you can control, which is not very much when you think about it. It's only yourself. Okay.
Right.
You cannot control anyone else. And then once you have that acceptance, just to commit to taking an action that aligns with your values, but also having mindfulness acceptance. I resonate a lot with mindfulness. Every day I start my morning with gratitude. I utilize a gratitude journal. I meditate. And so when you talk about wellness within the platform, I utilize My Strength to stay well, because there have been times in my past when I let a lot of things build up. We're so known for just doing, put another rock in the backpack. And before you know it, you're carrying too much. And so having these tools and resources available helps you to recognize sometimes maybe you don't even want to take that rock. It's not your rock to begin with. It belongs to someone else. And that helps you to be able to get through your day-to-day and manage your life better in those stressors when they come along.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to give it a try. Like you said, this is individualized, and everybody handles things different. So there's going to be a resource out there for you. So be sure to check that out. And I'll kind of start to wrap up. And with our final question, once I enroll in My Strength, what happens next?
Once you enroll in My Strength, it's so simple. So you're going to be asked assessment questions. They are as easy as 9 questions relating to your mood, 7 questions relating to stressors, and then asking some personalized questions about what's going on in your life. And then from there, you're going to be recommended personal digital tools and resources depending on those answers. And then you go right in. You can use it as often as you like, unlimited, again, no cost, anytime, anywhere. And then you will simply be asked to complete a reassessment every 30 days. And that's to see how you're doing overall. And it's nice to see that the work that you are putting in is helping to be able to feel better and really live a healthier life that translates to your physical health too.
Absolutely. I did lie. I have one more question. We did get this from a member, and it fit perfectly with today. I'm struggling to find a therapist. I cannot find one who accepts our insurance in their area and is taking new referrals. How do I find a therapist?
So I'll jump in. It sounds like you've utilized the provider search tool online, and that it is challenging sometimes to find one who accepts insurance and accepts new patients right now, and actually has availability within what you may consider a reasonable timeline, just to say sooner than 3 months in
Right.
some cases, that they can see you. And so I do want to encourage you, consider a service if you're stateside, like Teladoc. If you're overseas, look at the information we've got online about the Lyra Health piece, but look at Teladoc, because there you've got access to anybody who's licensed in the state and sign up with Teladoc. But you can go in and you can see the availability right away. You can also see, and again, I'm going to ask Nancy to correct me if I'm wrong, the information about the therapist, what their approach is. If you're more comfortable with a person of a certain gender or particular background or something like that, you can find that information as well. And typically you can get in to see someone fairly quicker. I'll say this, quicker than you might be able to get in to see someone in person in your area, especially if you're in a more remote area, or frankly, even in an urban area where there may be a lot more therapists, but fewer of them take insurance. So I encourage you, take a look at the options available through Teladoc. It is a secure online platform. The vast majority of FSBP members who have used it for mental health needs use a video visit. It's not just over the phone. You're able to see the person. You're able to connect better, and have that conversation. Get the care that you need, and then schedule the next appointment. It's not just you sit in line. Who's next? Okay, I've got them. We have the approach for general med for acute needs. But for this, you can schedule those ongoing appointments, make use of the service in an ongoing way, get the support you need. So I encourage you to look there.
Absolutely. And I'll hit some of our key events and key things we've had before we wrap up. If you are aware, we're doing multiple webinars a month through Prudential. So be sure to check out our events page. We have one on Tuesday called Healthcare and Retirement, offered at 3 separate times. On June 10th, we have college funding methods. So if your child or dependent is looking to go to college soon, might be a good one to check out because college is expensive. And then June 17th, we have Managing Employment Change. So just like we said at the top of the show, if you are worried about losing your job or maybe have, definitely check that out. We have a lot of resources in that and how to protect your financial investments and, how to work around that. And then on June 24th, we have a financial wellness checkup with our 2 financial specialists from Prudential. And that is going on from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can schedule an appointment with them and discuss your finances. So definitely check those out. We have a new blog about coping mechanisms for federal employees if you're returning to office or if you've been let go. So definitely check that out as well. We mentioned the AFSPA Talks podcast episode with the Truman Group. That was a great episode. I know we got a lot of questions about the Truman Group during open season, at least when I was doing the live chat days. So if you want to learn more about that, definitely check out that podcast. We also have a podcast about mental health coaching versus counseling that we did, I believe, last May. So definitely check out the archive that we have there because there's definitely an episode about one of our benefits. And if you're looking for it, that's where you can go to find it. Otherwise, thank you so much, Nancy, for joining us today. We really appreciated it. I hope this episode was helpful to a lot of people. And like we've been saying before, remember, you're not alone, that whether it's openly talked about or not, most everyone is going through something regardless of the scale of it. Don't think that your thing is either too much or too little. And, try, at least I try to, make the stigma not as bad. Like, it shouldn't be a shock if someone's like, oh, I go to therapy. That's okay. If I hear someone say that, I'm like, that's incredible. Like, you're taking the steps to make a difference in your life and in your loved ones' lives as well, because going to therapy really does improve so many things in your life, relationship-wise, friendships, mental health, physical health. So, as we end out this Mental Health Awareness Month, like we've been saying, you're never alone. Don't ever think that you're a burden to anyone or that you can't be helped, because that's not true. So definitely check out all our resources. And thank you again, Nancy. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
And we will see you again next time.
Thanks for watching our broadcast. Join us again the last Thursday of every month at 11 a.m. Eastern. Also, don't forget to look for AFSPA Cares on all of our social media channels: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.